Hi, Connor.
Hi, Trenton.
How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, all right. What did we watch today?
We watched The Empire Strikes Back.
Fantastic. Welcome to Switching Rails.
Yeah. Welcome. All right. Anything I say is going to be redundant now. We watched The Empire Strikes Back. So first off, recommendations. I don't recommend this to anyone that hasn't seen the rest of the movies that we have talked about here. At the very least, you need to see A New Hope before you watch
A New
this.
Hope. I would agree with you because there's a lot of stuff in this one that you don't totally get.
Yeah, this one's
any of the character setup or any of the background.
This one I think is the most thoroughly a sequel.
Yes, it's very a sequel to
that first
Star Wars
a
movie.
Great sequel.
It's a very good sequel. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about that. I would agree, but again, space opera. I don't think there is like mild torture. So if that's not your jam,
yeah, I mean it's like there is. I also think that it's mellow enough that like I watched this as a kid. And I was not like one of the like really unsheltered kids that like their parents were just like, go watch whatever. Like they were, they were relatively strict on certain things. But yeah, I don't think that the torture scene is
all that bad.
Off-put almost anyone.
No, I agree with that.
So
there's nothing else there.
Yeah. I mean, Han's kind of a prick.
Yeah.
But
if you didn't guess that from the first movie, which you hopefully have seen, then you will know in this movie.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that kind of gets past our recommendations.
Yeah, it does.
But
where is this on the list? Do you remember?
I don't remember exactly where it is. I know that this was the one we were watching.
Oh, that started
that started
I think that means it's like 14 or 15.
Yeah. I think it's 15. Anyway, it's 15, 16, 17, somewhere in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Somewhere between 14 and 17.
I've lost it. There's so much Star Wars in my brain right now.
Yeah. But no, this is a great film.
Yes.
I would highly recommend this. And I also would agree that it not only belongs at its place on the list, or not only belongs on the list, but it belongs at its place.
That's a strong statement for you.
Especially considering how my views on Star Wars have fluctuated.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I absolutely think that it should be where it is.
Nice. That's awesome.
And I'll get into why a little later.
Yeah, perfect. I wouldn't put it as high on the list.
No?
No, I don't think so. But, like, I obviously don't know very many down further on the list. It just doesn't feel top 20 to me. And Fair enough. I'd probably put it top 50 for sure.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fair assessment. Ratings here.
Yeah.
I'm going to say on enjoyment for me, it's a 10.
Nice.
Like, at least on this watch. I like even within Star Wars, this particular watching experience fluctuates a lot for me.
Mm-hmm.
There are some times when I'm like, I'm gonna watch this and I'm gonna love it, and I'm like, this is so slow.
Yes.
And like at those times it'd be like a 4 for enjoyment. But then there's other times when I watch it like tonight and I was just like, this is a great movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, 10 enjoyment. A lot of the compositing and that kind of stuff doesn't really hold up anymore. So I am going to knock it down a couple of points. Probably not 2. I'm going to go 8.5.
Nice.
And I don't like to do that, but it's strong 8 to a light 9.
Exactly. That's how you've done it so far.
Yeah. So yeah, like, and part of the reason it is that high is because, number one, like from a technical perspective, a lot of the stuff that they were doing, super impressive even today.
Yeah.
Like just
a lot of the
wonderful.
Design is gorgeous. And gorgeous.
Number 2, from sort of the more nebulous side that we have included in our technical, there's a lot more character development for a lot of the characters in this.
The lines are better.
Sorry?
The lines are better.
Yeah, I was gonna say the story's better, or at least the dialogue is better. And I don't know if this is technical or enjoyment, but we see a lot of things introduced to the Star Wars universe in this movie that really flesh it out.
Yeah.
Like, I could see someone watching the first one and not, like, letting their imagination just fill the entire galaxy.
Yes.
This one, I'm like, if that's not happening to you, and this is the first time you're watching it, there might be something wrong with your imagination.
If you've been told you don't have an imagination so far, this just confirms it. But
so yeah, that's my glowing numeric review.
Fantastic. Love this. That's great. So, I'm not in a great mood tonight, so I think my enjoyment's going to go down a little bit.
Okay.
I'm probably at only like a 7 or 8, and I'll go and talk more about it a little bit later. The primary reason being I don't feel like I am compelled to understand why the actions that are taking place have been taking place in this way.
Mm-hmm.
And so Empire's always been a weird one for me. I do just feel almost every time I watch it, I feel like it's a slight slog for me personally.
Okay.
So it's not one of my favorite of the original trilogy. But technical, I think I'd agree with you there on 7 to 8 as well. I guess you said 8 to 9, but 7 to 8 for me. The choreography in the saber battles is really fantastic. Set design's gorgeous. So actually, yeah, I'm going to go 8 to 9 as well. Yeah, totally. It's actually very, very technically well done.
And I will say the choreography is a huge step up from the last one.
So much better than the last one. Oh my gosh. Thankfully on the last one they didn't have very long in the saber fight, which is great.
Yeah.
But the fact that they
which was extremely fortunate.
Very fortunate because it was bad. The swordplay in this was fantastic.
Yeah.
So
this is where we drop our spoiler warning.
Yeah.
If you don't know the big spoiler of Empire, stop watching now. And also,
how did you get this far? Yeah. Like, I can imagine that if you're very new to this world and listening to our podcast, you may not have heard this yet. But, if that's the case, thank you for subscribing and listening to us. I appreciate it. And also,
why are you on YouTube instead of watching this movie?
On a podcast. Like Spotify. We're on Spotify.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I put us everywhere, man.
How have they not seen this movie?
It's a good point, though. There's a lot of people that haven't seen the original trilogy, which is kind of crazy.
So strange to me.
Right? I know. It's so weird. Growing up the way that we did. Like, my parents loved watching these.
Just a side tangent. I have a friend who, anytime someone asks him how he hasn't seen a movie, his response is always, "It's the default option."
There are many more movies that exist than you've been able to see.
That's true.
There are certain ones that have a much higher weight.
I think there's some that just, like the Star Wars original trilogy and even the prequels, they permeated our culture so thoroughly.
Absolutely.
I think it being the default option is not enough.
No,
you are intentionally missing out on culture.
It's not like I would go up to someone and say, "Hey, have you seen 12 Angry Men?" and then tear into them. Because I don't know, I hadn't heard of 12 Angry Men up to this point.
That movie has stuck in your head more than any other movie we've watched, hasn't it?
I was really pleasantly surprised by it. It was a good movie.
Yeah, but it's also your yardstick for measuring every other movie.
Because it was my first surprise. It was my first surprise on this list. Real surprise. Everything else is oh, okay, I can understand why this made it here.
Yeah.
12 Angry Men was 1, different, and then 2, old, and then 3 good. And it was very nice. Go and watch 12 Angry Men if you haven't already. It's episode 5 or something, 6. So it's worth it.
Yeah. All right. So we are, I think, thoroughly past the spoiler warning.
Subscribe. Let's go.
Yep. Summary of the movie.
Summary of the movie. Oh, I hadn't even started thinking of this.
Oh, no. Okay.
This is great. Okay.
I'm going to try to fumble my way through it.
Do you want some time for the more accurate one, and I'll just take a stab
I don't think I can.
Yeah.
This movie is scattered.
It's really scattered.
And I think part of it does come down to the fact that it is much more character-driven than the first one.
It's very character. And that's actually a really good point. I hadn't really thought about... I think I always compare this one to the movies on either side of it, and I'm like, But from a character perspective, that's a really, really good point.
And I think that's part of the reason that, depending on which watch I go through it on, it can vary in how much I enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is because the plot here is almost entirely secondary.
It really is.
There's nothing really serious plot-wise that's going on. Okay, so I guess it's easy to split up because both of the plots are kind of the A plot.
Yeah.
Han, Chewie, Leia, and C-3PO are all trying to escape basically the invading Empire force after everybody's kicked off of Hoth, which is, nice planet.
It's an ice planet, not a nice planet.
Yes, it's an ice planet. Anyway, the Empire roots out the rebellion there. They get caught basically by the blockade. They don't have their hyperdrive, so they can't get away. So they spend the whole movie hiding in asteroids, that kind of thing. Han and Leia fall in love, I guess. I have always been simultaneously charmed and disturbed by their relationship.
Completely.
But that is not part of the summary.
Now it is.
Now it is. Anyway, they end up at Cloud City, and then they get tortured so that Luke will come back and save them. Luke, meanwhile, while they have been evading the Empire, has been learning to use the Force from Yoda and leaves when he's not ready. Shows up at Cloud City to come save Han and Leia. And confronts Darth Vader, who reveals that no, he is his father.
Whoa.
Yeah. And Han is frozen in carbonite, sent off with Boba Fett to go live in Jabba's palace for a little while. Leia, Chewie, and C-3PO are all saved by Lando, who we met at the city. And Luke gets picked up by them after the big reveal from Darth Vader. Again, plot-wise, this is really hard to summarize.
The summary is the rebels are losing. That's all they do in this movie. That is their number one goal, is to lose right now. They've already done their one big goal, all right? They killed the Death Star in the last movie. They can't follow up with that. You can't just go and destroy the rest of the fleet. The rest of the fleet doesn't have this weird exhaust issue that you can just go and fly a ship up to it and blow it up. So they're on the retreat. They're kind of scattered all over the place, running around a bunch, trying to just keep the Empire on their toes, trying to gather some strength. So that's where we open up. They're on an ice planet called Hoth, again, singular biome. That's all that we can do in Star Wars. And then they get their butts handed to them. Like, they just get wrecked. But basically everyone escapes, which is really nice. Empire still just caught off guard, even though they shouldn't have been, and lets everyone escape. The only things that are important after this point are that space ghosts exist and that the Millennium Falcon is a piece of shit. And it sucks. It's a bad ship. The only reason that Han Solo and his party gets into half this movie is because the freaking Millennium Falcon doesn't work. Over half of it, maybe. And so...
But it's the fastest hungry junk in the galaxy.
No, not whenever it's not moving relative to the speed of light. Anyway, so there's a lot of shenanigans that go on there. Also, Luke thinks, oh, wow, I saw a space ghost. I should go listen to it. And then spends time training, which I guess really isn't much better to do because you don't know where you're going to gather up. Even though he does. He actually knows exactly where the rendezvous point is. He's just like, nah, training. Because being a Jedi Knight sounds like a good idea because I learned so much about it from Ben Kenobi when I was talking to him for a good week before he died by Darth Vader. So, he goes and does that.
He does get sent there by the Space Ghost.
He says,
you did not
Dagobah.
Connect. Yeah, you did not connect those at all. You're just like, Space Ghost exists. I
could go to Dagobah. Space Ghost does tell Luke to go to Dagobah. So he does. Gets taught by little green boy, Dagobah Kermit the Frog, and then goes and tries his very best to rescue Han, Leia, C-3PO, and Chewbacca from Cloud City.
Why are they at Cloud City?
Oh, because no, that goes back. It's again the Millennium Falcon just is a piece of junk. We can't do anything with it. I guess I need to get parts from somewhere. I don't have enough fuel or something to go to anywhere else that could have parts. We gotta go to Bespin to go. They only say the planet's name once. This is a cloud planet, by the way. That's its biome is clouds, which technically is actually a very good biome. Like you see cloud planets all over the place, which is good. But anyway, that's why they have to go there. And so Luke goes and tries to be there. But again, moral of this episode is the rebels suck. And they lose. And so Luke loses when he gets there. Gets his arm chopped off, much like his father did before him. And
that line will come up in the next movie.
Like my father before me. And learns that his father is not dead. As has been said, like actually to his face, that his father had died.
Yeah.
And then he just gets picked up in a ship, and for some reason Lando is smiling whenever he flies away. He's having the time of his life.
Yeah. Well, do you understand the task of trying to summarize this movie?
Yes.
For those listening or watching, please play along.
Please play along.
If you can come up with a better summary, please let us know.
Please put it in the comments, send us an email. I'll post it everywhere.
If you have a channel, we'll start watching yours.
Exactly. Yes, we will. Summarize this movie, please.
Yeah, this movie is not easy to summarize.
Yeah, okay. So, standout scenes then, and performances.
Standout scenes, all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's a very good collection of scenes.
Yeah. I will say this does have the one scene in the entire despecialized editions that make me go, I really wish that was the updated. It
stands out for bad reasons.
Yeah. And that is the hologram of the Emperor. Got like a bad claymation face.
Yeah.
Well, they did because in Return of the Jedi, the Emperor there was also the one who played the Emperor in the first or in the prequel trilogy.
Really?
Yeah. So it was a lot easier for them to just be like, let's take him and just record one more hologram instead of having the claymation that does really stand out is just not
really
good.
Not good.
So yeah. But standout scenes, I mean, you get hit with them right off the front and like Luke getting taken out by the Wampa.
Yep.
That is a great scene.
Yep.
Partially because it introduces us to the idea that there are plant life. There are
fauna.
Yes, there's fauna. on these single biome planets.
Yeah.
Doesn't make the entire thing feel empty. It's our first, if I can remember correctly, it's our first interaction with the Force that is actually showing us something physical it can do, short of Darth Vader choking some people out in the first...
one or two people.
Yeah, in the first movie. But, like, this is the first time that we're like, oh, this can actually, like, manipulate things.
Yeah.
You
see a lot of in this movie, which is really cool.
Yeah, and that's one thing that struck me as very strange, is that I had never noticed that this was what introduced that concept.
Yeah, like force pulling and pushing.
Yeah. So yeah, that right off the bat. Then you have the attack on the Rebel base.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. The AT-ATs just lumbering.
It's one of the best.
Yeah.
Like just marches of like a high Imperial force. That's me.
Yeah.
Coming to wreck your stuff.
Yeah, it is very, very cool. Yeah, there are standout scenes from start to finish with this.
Completely agree. Everything with Yoda is really funny to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, just so good. There's the meme of like, show me Yoda's like most perfect duel, and it'll go through Dooku, and it'll go through whenever he's fighting Palpatine, and then
hitting R2-D2.
Perfection.
Yeah. So like the scenes in this are all fantastic.
Yes.
Since I already highlighted the one standout bad scene that I can think of, I'm going to highlight the one standout bad performance that I can think of.
Yeah, sounds good.
There is a
soldier number 1,
small character that has a line when they're talking about escaping, about 2 fighters against a Star Destroyer.
Yes. Yeah, it's a little more inflection than that. It's like 2 fighters against a Star Destroyer.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
And Leia's like, yes. Sit down.
Also, I feel like Harrison Ford either got more acting under his belt or
his performance is a lot better in this movie.
Yeah, and like I don't think it was bad in the first one.
No, but like, it felt more amateur than it did in this one.
Yeah.
It was like, oh no, this is Han Solo now.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you kind of see the character of Han Solo in the first cantina scene in A New Hope, and then this entire movie. Like, this is just Han Solo.
Yeah. And I really like his character in this. Like, they do kind of establish him as, I mean, the term is scoundrel.
Yes.
But, like, he really fills that role very, very well.
Really, really well.
Yeah. I mean, Frank Oz is always good. Yoda.
Oh, nice.
Like, I'm a huge Muppets fan. Like, so I can't say anything bad about the man.
It was so good. Like, and I really liked it. Like, it's one of those things where you're like, you can tell that it's not real. Yeah. But you don't care. Like, it doesn't break your immersion that he's not real.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes whenever you're, like, really zoomed into his face and see his mouth moving. But otherwise, like, it's just, oh, no, this is just a character. Like, I understand this entire thing isn't real, and he doesn't not fit that. Like, he fits. Yeah. Which is super, super cool.
Yeah.
And it's really nice learning more about the Force in this one. That's really, really, really awesome in this.
Yeah, absolutely. It does turn into a more mystical thing in this one.
Like a well-defined mystical thing. Like the soft magic system there is like they really help flesh it out. Like, hey, this is what it is. Like, it's a living thing. It ties things together. Like, that's why we can use it. Like, it's everywhere.
Well, that's what they initially tell you with the other thing, but it's only told to you. You don't feel
experience it. Like, Dagobah is just the perfect place for experiencing the Force.
Right. Yeah.
There's so many living things here. Yeah. That are all interacting with each other.
Yeah. And even like, I think some of the things like watching him lift all of the objects at the same time and that sort of thing does really give you a better understanding of what this all-powerful force is supposed to be.
Exactly. And they do a really, really good student-mentor relationship in that one, I think. Like, with showing off exactly how strenuous this is for Luke, who you have now known through 2 movies.
Yeah.
And like the effort involved in his training. And then seeing Yoda, who doesn't even walk for himself.
Right, yeah.
Just, like, beast out this starship that is knee-deep in the mud.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, that was, like, what they do there is really, really cool.
Yeah. But, yeah, unfortunately, because there's so many, like, standout scenes and performances in this, like, I can't...
Oh, yeah, like,
there aren't a lot that I feel like I can pull.
Yeah. Again, like, the final duels, fantastic.
Yeah.
The standout scene at the end, fantastic for I Am Your Father.
Yep.
Again, the Berenstein Bears, what's the Mandela effect of no Luke, I Am Your Father versus what it actually is, which is just no space, I Am Your Father.
Right, yeah. But, like, yeah. You can't just say Luke, I am your father.
No,
that is one.
No Luke.
You can say no Luke, but yeah,
it's so wrong.
Yeah,
which is nice.
Yeah.
The background on that one of, like, no one knowing what the line was except for Lucas and
yeah,
Samuel. Oh, not Samuel. That's the next one.
Wow. You're thinking of Lawrence Fishburne.
Lawrence Fishburne? Who's that?
Lawrence Fishburne was the guy in The Matrix. That was the whole thing about Samuel L. Jackson got asked by an interviewer if like what it was like to be in The Matrix. And Samuel L. Jackson went off on the dude.
Yeah.
He's like, that's Lawrence Fishburne. So, yeah.
I just got wrecked on that one. James Earl Jones. I apologize.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just Lucas and Jones knowing what was, like, actually happening in that. I love that. Oh, that's
and you can see a little bit of the confusion on Luke's face if you're really looking for it.
Exactly.
Because he's, like, trying to figure out, okay, what are the implications of this?
Exactly.
I think that one is one that maybe they should have let him in
that the actual line was, Obi-Wan killed your father.
Yeah.
And that's actually what was being used. And they didn't actually hear the final cut until the end. Because all of the lines that Luke says afterwards, like, still relate to Obi-Wan killing his father. That's what I had heard. I can't cite the source.
That's quite possible that you're right. I just knew that he didn't know what the line was.
Exactly.
But yeah,
so cool.
Very strange.
I agree. But yeah, I think the main thing that gets me on this one, it's a stand out in a bad way. Again, you're like what you're saying, the characterization and world building nails it.
Yeah.
I don't have, like, Luke, I guess seeing your dead mentor as a ghost while you're hallucinating on the verge of being dead by frostbite and hypothermia, is, I guess, a good enough reason to go to a planet that you didn't really care about. But, like, he only goes there because Ben says so. Like, I don't have the connection that he feels like he wants to be a Jedi or he wants to, like, go and, like, further his understanding of this thing. He's like, no, I'm going because I don't really have anything better to do, and Ben told me to, which is, at best, an okay reason for me.
I think part of it, and maybe I'm off base here, but my understanding was, one, the Rebels have been really good at establishing new bases. If he's going to go look for a new place to basically be before he goes back to the rendezvous point, it makes sense that he would want to go now. Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Number two, we do see him talking to Ben at the end of the first movie. He tells him to use the Force, and
true.
It's quite possible that you could say that's like him remembering in his head, but I've always
interpreted it as the Force ghost. Yeah. Okay. That's a good point as well.
So, like, And they also mentioned that there has been another place that they have been in between the Yavin 4 moon and Hoth. So I don't know how much time he's had interacting with Ben. It could
actually be a little bit, because now he's able to do force pulling.
Right. Yeah.
Seems pretty well cemented.
So yeah, I think there's a good chance that he is listening to Ben because there is a little bit more of a rapport there than we've seen on screen.
Which makes total sense. And it's just the not having it communicated on screen to me. I'm like...
Again, I might be giving it a little bit... I might be giving it a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt than it deserves, but... I don't know. No. I don't mind it. It
doesn't feel like, I guess for me, more than I was expecting it to. The fact that this doesn't have what I would call a stable plot through the entire thing. Like, if you're not listening to a couple key pieces of dialogue in this, you lose where we are or why we're here. The fact that Han Solo has a bounty that he has to pay off. We can still kind of remember that from the first movie because they make it a little more explicit there. We get one line at the beginning of the movie from Han Solo, which isn't really emphasized very much, that he has a bounty. So why does it even matter this bounty hunter is here?
I mean, it's brought back up. Because the bounty hunters, when they're brought in, it's the Empire is just bringing in these bounty hunters.
Exactly.
But once he's collected... there's a lot of conversation between Boba and Darth Vader about...
That's after he's collected. Up to that point, you're still not entirely sure, except for the fact that the Empire hired them, potentially.
Yeah.
Why they're there.
But they're there because the Empire hired them.
Yeah, for sure. But they just show up in an asteroid field? There's, for some reason, there's just a bunch of small, little nitpick plot things in this one for me. Where I'm it irritates me every single time I watch it.
That's 100% fair. And again, I think, I don't know if I talked about this in our last episode or if it was one of the prequels, but I am willing to... There are certain movie types that I will just go, I can't dive super deep into this and fact checking it, because if I do, it's just not going to be enjoyable.
It's unraveled, and we just...
Because, Star Wars, it crumbles under scrutiny.
It does.
A lot of things do. I would say the same thing happens with almost every Marvel film.
Absolutely.
Happens with basically any, big action film.
Yeah.
Any spy thrillers are...
Oh, they are the worst.
Yeah, that's just absolutely nuts.
Yes, completely agree.
And I mean, we've already watched The Dark Knight, right? And that's one that I think most people would agree is just a great film.
It's just so good.
But there are some things that just straight up do not make sense if you
think about it,
try to,
And I think it is just the fact that even with A New Hope, we talked a little bit about how again, if you look at it too hard, it falls down.
Yeah.
But I get carried through that movie over those things. I don't get carried in Empire the same way. I step accidentally through the very thin paper that we're expected to go and fall for.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, but anyway, it is a really good movie still.
Yeah, and I think I give it a little bit more leeway, especially because of just how immersive this one feels to me.
The world building is gorgeous. The characterization is gorgeous.
Yeah. So if I just want to be in Star Wars, this is a great one.
It's a really good movie to be in if you just want to be in Star Wars. I completely agree.
So, themes.
Yeah.
This one actually feels like it starts to develop some themes.
Yeah, one or two, maybe.
And
inkling things.
And actually one of my favorites, which is the theme of light versus dark as an internal struggle.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Having Luke go into the cave and confront the darkness that is explicitly said he brought in there.
Yep. Only what you bring in with you.
Yeah. So there's that aspect. There's him leaving Yoda before his training's complete, where he is able to access the Force, but he has not learned to control it yet, which is the most dangerous time.
Yes.
Which I'm like, that's a perfect metaphor.
And it's a gorgeous metaphor. Like, that's really well
for
done.
power in any form.
Yes.
Right? If you have power, but you are not able to control it
yet, you generally want more. Because, like, if you have more of the power, you're able to go and, like, do more with it, even though you don't have the finesse in controlling it yet.
Right, yeah.
Completely.
So, yeah, I absolutely love the way
gorgeous.
that it's approached in this.
Like, except for the fact that Vader, like, misestimated one or two things, that was the perfect trap.
Yeah.
Like, it worked exactly how he wanted it, exactly the time that he wanted it to. And he only underestimated Luke's power. Like, oh. All too easy.
But yeah, I think thematically those are probably the strongest.
Yeah, and also you see that in Lando, you see that in Han.
Yeah.
And a bunch of the smaller characters, they're still main characters, but like Han develops a more, like, it feels like caring side in this one. Like, he was planning on just leaving, which again, there's a lot of circumstances that made him not leave, like the fact that Millennium Falcon is just junk.
Yeah.
They, like, really overemphasize it in this one. Like, sure, it's a piece of junk in the first one, in episode 4, and episode 6 is not very reliable. But they, like, just, like, depend on Millennium Falcon being broken.
The whole point of the Millennium Falcon is that it looks like a piece of garbage, but it actually functions really well.
Exactly. In this movie, it doesn't. It breaks that.
The only thing that's wrong with it is the hyperdrive through the whole movie.
I know.
That's one problem.
It's the problem. It depends on the hyperdrive for its speed. That's the only thing that makes it fast.
You've taken the character that is the Millennium Falcon, and you've taken away its power.
Yes.
That's a good thing. It's a character developing moment for the Millennium Falcon.
If the Millennium Falcon could fix it. The Millennium Falcon is an R2-D2 C-3PO.
It can't. It has to rely on its friends.
I'm really this mess. Good. Well, the Millennium Falcon needs more defenses, so I appreciate that. I'm kind of going a little bit too hard on the Millennium Falcon, so I apologize. Thank you for that. Thank you for reminding me. And then you go more into the Force being, like, very, like, the actual, like, you feel like the Force is more in this one. In the first movie, you're like, oh, it's the Force is the thing that Vader uses to kill people.
Yeah.
And kind of Ben talks about it. Well, there's Force ghosts.
I mean, from the good side, there's, like, it allows you to sense things.
Yeah,
and, like,
you can kind of see the future kind of with predictive.
Yeah. Like it somehow helps Luke get the missile into the Death Star at the end.
But it's all feelings.
Yeah.
Like, there isn't any, like, external thing. It's the thing that, like, lives inside you.
It's a Jedi mind trick.
Yeah, there's a Jedi mind trick. You're right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
But again, that's sort of ethereal as well.
But the soundtrack, along with Yoda doing the explanation, just makes you like, oh, I understand now. I know what the Force is now. Good job, guys. Like, you give me 4 minutes of dialogue and a great soundtrack and a little green Kermit, and we live, and it's good. It's a wonderful Force. I understand now. This is great. Thank you for explaining it.
Yeah.
Which, like, there is and you have the opposite side of, like, the dark side doing its best to encroach on that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think this one did some really cool things thematically. It did a really good job of establishing what the Force actually is in this.
It's a really, really good job. It's also where we start the fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate thing. Like, fear and anger and hate are mentioned a bunch, either during the saber duel or with Yoda.
I forgot to mention this. This is something that I had never realized before, but you watch the way Darth Vader fights in this one, and it's animalistic.
It's just visceral.
It's so cool.
It's just the power, and, like, I think
Like he looks like a knight swinging like a great sword or something.
Like he's going to batter whatever is in front of him out of the way. Again, the character development. Like we don't hear any of Vader's backstory here.
No.
Like we don't know anything more about him, but what he conveys in his willingness to kill people, in his single-minded focus to get what his goal currently is, being the Millennium Falcon. And in the traps that he sets, and then in his fighting style, like it communicates so well who Vader is as a character, which you don't get in that first movie.
Yeah, in the first movie, you just get lightly tapping sticks against each other while having a conversation.
Yeah, completely agree.
But yeah,
it's gorgeous,
and that's not just like a choreography thing. Like, oh, this looks more spectacular, which it does. But it also it does convey so much about who he is as a character.
Yeah, and what drives him.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely agree. Which, like, I think we'll talk more about that in the sixth movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, but you see that same fighting style in, like, Rogue One, and as well in Obi-Wan, the series, which you really should watch. But
okay,
his
I'll get to it.
It's just gorgeous. It's really, really good.
Okay, yeah. And I will say the one part of Rogue One that... Okay, so this isn't a Rogue One review, so I'm not going to get too deep into it.
We'll do it sometime.
But I will say, like, on rewatches, Rogue One has left me pretty underwhelmed in most regards. If I could keep one thing from that entire movie, it would be the scene of Darth Vader walking up that hall.
Yep.
And just being a brutal dark wizard in space. Like it's perfectly done.
So good.
Yeah,
completely agree.
So yeah. Technical things that stand out.
We kind of talked about some of these already, like
compositing.
Compositing stands out, not very well. But again, the set building in this, like, I love the cryo freezing chamber and all of Cloud City, like, as a setting. Like,
I like certain parts of Cloud City a lot. Other parts feel to me like sort of your generic sci-fi channel original.
Yeah, but that's what we say now. There wasn't a Cloud City up to this point.
That's true.
I know it's a trope now, like the idea of this just ethereal thing mining.
Yeah, I like the idea of that. I was talking more about like the actual sets inside.
Oh, that
like
makes
the
sense.
Indoor
That's
sets.
a good point. Those are generic.
Yeah, and like even when you can see the skyline, it's like, it looks kind of like a Star Trek episode.
Buck
like
Rogers.
Yeah. So like,
completely agree.
Not to say that those things don't look charming in a certain way, but they don't immerse you like the sets that, say, in the prequels do, or
are also
even some of the other sets in this movie. Right?
That's a really good point. Like Hoth is gorgeous.
Yeah, Hoth is yeah. Although Dagobah, my guess
like
is was
3 sets.
My guess is Dagobah was actually mostly filmed on location.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That would be my guess. I don't know that if that's the case, but if it wasn't, oh my gosh!
Boy, did you guys do good.
Yep. So yeah, I think, and it all depends on where you are. Like the carbonite chamber. Maybe the most iconic set in all of Star Wars.
It might be, like,
and rightfully so.
It's so well done.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. And you also get the most important line in all of Star Wars in that scene.
Yeah.
I think that one, if I remember correctly, that one was ad hoc. Like, they were trying to figure out what line should be put in there, and then,
if I remember correctly, I think you're okay.
Slightly off.
You're close.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford, from my understanding, ad-libbed I know. He was actually supposed to say, I love you too.
Oh, dang it.
But it fit the character so well.
Much better.
Yeah.
It's just, the impact in that scene is gorgeous.
Also, my mom will never not laugh at him saying that, and she will also never not criticize him for saying it at the exact same time.
Absolutely. No, and like that's a valid point. Like this is what you've been working up to this entire movie, my good sir. Have some decorum. Yeah, I feel that.
Yep.
So yeah,
but
lots of really good technical things in this one.
Yeah.
And again,
also,
swordsmanship.
The work on the actual lightsabers.
Yeah.
Also much better.
Much better. And like in the first one, they weren't bad, but like they were crisp.
Yeah.
In this one.
Yeah. In the first one, if the lightsaber was pointed too much at the camera, it started to look thin and flashy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
From all angles in this one, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Which they needed to be, because boy, did we have some swingy swings.
Yeah.
And all of those were It felt a lot like a boss battle. Like Luke was just hitting different phases of Darth Vader, which was interesting. Like, and also like,
but he failed through several of them.
No, he did. I love the fail conditions; they're fantastic. Like, and Vader, like another to his fighting style point, like he's fighting pretty hard in that first bit, but it isn't until like at the end, whenever he gets Luke like on the run, where you really start seeing like his power and his ferocity.
Yeah.
In that last wave.
Yeah.
Which is just so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that.
All right. I think we've beat this movie
to death.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably more that we could say about it, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
No, not easily. It is a very good movie. And I think I'm probably overly harsh. But if there's anyone that agrees with me, please let me know.
I mean, I was having a bad day and it turned me around on it, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, I still just...
So, next week, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah! It's my favorite of the original trilogy.
It was when I was a kid. We'll talk more about that next week.
I'm excited because a lot of people I've heard as they get older really like switch over to Empire whenever they get older. Like they love it as a kid and then switch. And I've wanted that to happen to me.
Yeah. Hasn't happened though.
It hasn't happened. I'm excited to chat about it.
How do we end this?